Right then, UFC Fight Night Vettori versus Holland on ABC2 takes place this weekend, and I'm going to go through the entire card, starting with the early prelims, ending with the main event, giving my prediction and breakdown for every single fight on the card, starting with the early prelim opener of Impa Kasanganay versus Sasha Politnikov. Great bout. Impa Kasanganay, of course, still in the shadow realm after that Joaquin Buckley KO. It's really going to be a hard time for Impa Kasanganay trying to get over that loss, because that's going to be something that people remember him for a very long time, but maybe he does the same thing to Sasha Politnikov. I don't see that one happening. Sasha Politnikov, a very good fighter, beat Louis Cosce in his last bout, took a lot of damage in the early round, and he has been KO'd before in his career. I don't see Sasha Politnikov beating Impa Kasanganay. I think he'll make it very competitive, but I think Impa Kasanganay is going to wear on Sasha Politnikov as this fight goes on, because even though I picked Louis Cosce to beat Sasha Politnikov, I also knew that he only had a chance to do it in the first round, because he does slow down, or he fights so hard in the first round that he must slow down as the fight goes on, and that's what we saw in the Sasha Politnikov bout. Impa Kasanganay, I think, keeps a very steady pace. He's very cautious. He's a very good fighter. Do not let that Joaquin Buckley KO fool you. He's a very good fighter, and he actually looked like he was starting to turn the tables on Joaquin Buckley in that second round as well, before the big finish. But I think Impa Kasanganay is going to get this one done. 29-28, unanimous decision. I think Sasha Politnikov is going to steal the first round, and then Impa Kasanganay is going to wear on him in the second and third and win himself a 29-28 unanimous decision. I think Kasanganay's pretty good. Moving on up the card, Jung Da-un or Da-un Jung versus William Knight. I'm going to go with Da-un Jung. Neither of these men are that good, okay? And William Knight was supposed to be taking on Alonzo Menifield a couple of weeks ago. Now he's on this card versus Da-un Jung. I like the matchup. I think Da-un Jung's going to win. They're both not the best technically on the feet, and they both leave a lot of openings for people to capitalize. I didn't like Da-un Jung's last performance against Sam Alvey, but William Knight is a very, very small man. And Da-un Jung is a very, very large man. And in a fight where I see their skill levels being very similar, I don't see William Knight using too much grappling to get Da-un Jung to the ground. I don't see him just being able to out-grapple Da-un Jung. I don't see Da-un Jung being able to out-grapple William Knight. So I see both men on the feet. Both of them have got KO power. Da-un Jung has a great KO over Mike Rodriguez. William Knight's got big KO power as well. He actually has some decent grappling. I don't see him being able to enforce that on Da-un Jung. Da-un Jung is a big guy for the light heavyweight division, and he's shown some pretty decent takedown defense. I'm going to go with Da-un Jung just by being a bigger guy on the feet, because I think people are going to realize once they get in the cage, oh wait, William Knight looks like he belongs in the lightweight division compared to a guy like Da-un Jung. Knight does well against other guys who are small tanks for the light heavyweight division, but I think Da-un Jung's going to be a little bit too rangy, use the jab, use the front kick, and just keep William Knight at bay for 3 rounds, earning himself a 30-27 unanimous decision win. Da-un Jung gets it done. Moving on up the card, Luis Saldana versus Jordan Griffin. I wanted to say Luis Saldana, man. I wanted to say Luis Saldana. I'm going to say Luis Saldana, but trust me, if you see Jordan Griffin beat this man, know that I question myself here at this very moment. Because Luis Saldana has been submitted before in his career. He's shown some problems with the takedown defense, but I feel like he's overcame that recently with the addition of guys like Henry Cejudo in his camp, because Cejudo's been doing some good work with Luis Saldana. I've seen an interview of him talking about how Cejudo came in, taught him some wrestling things. Jordan Griffin is a great grappler. I believe Luis Saldana is going to be able to keep him off of him, and I don't like the way Jordan Griffin does as the fight goes on, and I think those front kicks to the body are going to be very, very dangerous in this bout, and I think he's going to use them very well against Jordan Griffin. I like Luis Saldana. I think he gets this one done, but I'm worrying about him because he has been out-grappled previously in his career, and Jordan Griffin is a very good grappler. He is an extremely good grappler, but I feel like the front kick to the body is going to be something that works very well, and just using those front kicks in general, they were so devastating. Jordan Griffin's going to be looking to level change, maybe level changes into one of them. I'm going to go with Luis Saldana wearing on Jordan Griffin as the fight goes on, and again, I'm going to see another decision here. Luis Saldana, 29-28. I think Jordan Griffin's going to be able to out-grapple him minorly in the first round, but in the second and third, Saldana will start to pull ahead. I'm going with Luis Saldana by unanimous decision, 29-28. Moving on up the card. It's Hunter Azure versus Jack Shaw. Another one of these. I'm going with Jack Shaw, but I worry here. A lot of people are picking Jack Shaw to win this one. He's a very, very good fighter. I mean, I'm ethnically Welsh, a part of me, so I kind of should put on for Jack Shore here and let him represent, but Hunter Azure is very good, and I understand this is a very bad matchup for Jack Shore because Hunter Azure's got great wrestling, he has a good wrestling background, he's got good hands on the feet as well, and Jack Shore's boxing, I've seen a few openings here and there that I don't quite like the look of, but I've realised in MMA it's not always about the wrestling credential. Fair play, Hunter Azure might not be able to be double-legged in the centre of the octagon against a guy like Jack Shore, but when you watch Jack Shore, his grappling is not wrestling-based. It's very like, right, push him up against the cage, I'm going to get the body lock, I'm going to hook one of their legs, then maybe they're going to give up their back and I'll try and take the back standing, and then if it looks like I'm sliding off, I'm going to get off again and go straight back to the body lock against the cage. I don't think Jack Shore's going to be looking for single legs and double legs against Hunter Azure. I think he's going to push him up against the cage, try and be that wet blanket guy against the cage, and then maybe take the back of Hunter Azure as this fight goes on in the later rounds. I think Hunter Azure, being a big muscle-bound guy, is going to leave an opening at the end of the second, and Jack Shore's going to take his back and get the rear naked choke finish in the second round. But I do worry about Jack Shore's hands because he does leave some openings here and there, and Hunter Azure's got some good boxing, but I think Jack Shore's equally got some really good knees and really good kicks as well, so I think he'll be using them on the feet, not really mixing it up with the boxing too much. He's got a reach advantage as well, which kind of makes me feel a little bit better about that boxing situation, but I feel like Jack Shore's going to wear on him against the cage. Hunter Azure's going to give up his back in a certain moment, and Jack Shore's going to take it and finish by rear naked choke in the second round. Moving on up the card, Jorgen De Castro versus Jorgen Danho. Are you going to ruin me again, you fat fuck? Jorgen De Castro. I'm picking Jorgen De Castro to win, okay? He is good. He's got good power. It's just, sometimes I don't like him. And I really don't like him sometimes. But Jorgen Danho, hardly a young guy on the come up, 37 years of age, had a draw in his last bout, arguably shouldn't even be signed to the UFC anyway, and you can kind of say the same thing for Jorgen De Castro. I'm going to give Jorgen De Castro the power advantage here. Big KO win over Justin Tuffer. I think he'll catch Jorgen Danho in that first round and give him a TKO loss. I'm going to go with Jorgen De Castro getting this one done by first round KO against Jorgen Danho. I've watched some of Danho's fights. Doesn't seem too technical. He seems like a... how do I describe these kind of fighters? That they're always from like a niche country. They're like a project. Like, let's get this guy to the UFC and then we'll see what happens. I don't know. I feel like I'm going to go with Jorgen De Castro. Jorgen Danho's beat some good guys. A lot of them are real old veterans in the game. I'm going to go with Jorgen getting a KO in the first round. But don't be surprised if... I know he's a massive underdog, but don't be surprised if Jorgen Danho just pushes him against the cage, because Jorgen will just accept that. So I'm going to go first round KO for Jorgen De Castro. He's fighting for his career at this point, so I think he's going to be a little bit more urgent, and I think he gets Jorgen Danho out of there in the first round. Moving on up the card, John Makdessi versus Ignacio Bahamondes. Sorry, it reminds me of Nacho Libre, just the name Ignacio. I don't know who I'm going to go with here, because I am going to go with Ignacio Bahamondes here. John Makdessi is a very sound fighter. He's very good technically. He actually outlanded Francisco Trinaldo in certain rounds, but Francisco Trinaldo landed the better shots in that bout. Do I do it? Am I going to do this? This is another one of those fucking Contender Series front kickers we've got on our hands here. I'm going to go with John Makdessi. I think I'm going to go with John Makdessi here over Ignacio Bahamondes. I don't see him getting this one done. I think he's had some real close fights with guys like Chris Brown, of course, coming off a big win against Rihanna, then took on Ignacio Bahamondes and went to a split decision, and Ignacio Bahamondes barely won that fight. He's lost to Salvador Becerra. I think we've seen him move up in competition level a couple of times in his career, and he's been kind of exposed sometimes in the grappling. He got armbarred earlier in his career. He got rear naked choked earlier in his career against a guy who was 3-3. I think John Makdessi can get this one done, and I'm actually going to pick him here to get the win. John Makdessi gets it done over Ignacio Bahamondes. Moving on up the card, Norma Dumont versus Erin Blanchfield. Now, this one's going to be very riveting to tune into if you're a male who likes women. I'm going to go with Norma Dumont. I think she'll just be a little bit too big for Erin Blanchfield, and in those grappling exchanges and even in the stand-up exchanges, I think you're going to see that size difference. Erin Blanchfield, good fighter, taking this one on very short notice against Norma Dumont. Dumont's had more of a camp. I know Erin Blanchfield may have been training for a fight, but again, always going to give the advantage to the girl that's been in a full camp, especially in this division of bantamweight. A lot of it comes down to who can grind more in certain situations. I'm going to go with Norma Dumont getting this one done, winning it in a grappling situation. situations, landing good shots on the feet as well, winning the cage control and stuff like that. Erin Blanchfield is very good. Short notice, she actually is a flyweight, and to be honest with you, she could be a fucking strawweight as well, because she's not a big girl for the flyweight division either. So for her to take this one all the way up at bantamweight, I feel like she's just taking it to secure her UFC contract. Then she's going to go down to flyweight and try things out there. I'm going to go with Norma Dumont by unanimous decision, 30-27. Moving on up the card, Scott Holtzman versus Mateusz Gamrot. I'm going with Mateusz Gamrot. I like Scott Holtzman, and there was a moment in his career where he seemed quite promising. But those moments are now in the far, far past. I'm going to go with Mateusz Gamrot getting this one done, being a much better, well-rounded fighter than Scott Holtzman. If Nick Lentz can get you down, it's Mateusz Gamrot we're talking about here. He only lost to Garam Kutateledze. Before that, he was completely undefeated, and I actually thought he could have beaten Garam Kutateledze, so I don't understand that decision, but it was a very close fight. I understand how there could be some confusion, but I thought Mateusz Gamrot could have edged that bout, just barely. Close fight, though, don't get me wrong. I don't think it was a robbery. Just a close decision I didn't quite agree with, in my opinion. Scott Holtzman, very good fighter. I just feel like he's going to get a little bit out-hustled here, especially in the grappling as the later rounds come. I could see a third-round submission or a third-round finish for Mateusz Gamrot, wearing down on the sort of muscled-up guy of Scott Holtzman. Not to mention he's coming off a KO loss to Beneil Dariush as well by spinning back fist. Very brutal KO loss. Getting a little bit older in his career, but I'll say a safe pick here would be Mateusz Gamrot by unanimous decision, 30-27, but I'll go one further and say 30-26. I think he'll really start to put together some bad beatdowns and submission attempts in that third round. Holtzman will barely survive, but I'm going to go with Mateusz Gamrot over the 3 rounds, 30-26, unanimous decision. Moving on up the card, Jim Miller versus Joe Solecki. Right, Joe Solecki is one of the most underrated prospects. I feel like no one's talking about this guy. He's doing really well. He's doing really, really well. A big win over Austin Hubbard. And Austin Hubbard is like a difficult test to get over. It's hard to look good against him. Like, he's a good, well-rounded fighter that can do a bit of everything. And Joe Solecki went out there and got a rear naked choke pretty easily in that first round. And we've seen recently with Jim Miller, he's been out-grappled in his bouts. I know he got out-grappled by Vince Pichel not too long ago, but we'll look at his recent ones. That was his last fight, actually, against Vince Pichel. I know he got a submission against Roosevelt Roberts, but Roosevelt Roberts threw a front kick. Jim Miller threw a leg kick at the same time. Roosevelt ends up on the ground, and you're in the armbar position, and it's all over, and Jim Miller gets the job done. But you know what? I like Jim Miller. I think he's still got some stuff left in him, but I think Joe Solecki here is a little bit of a tall order, especially for Jim Miller coming off of a loss. I know what they're trying to do here. They're trying to get Joe Solecki a big win after watching Jim Miller get out-grappled by a guy who, again, is also quite aging in his career in Vince Pichel. I think a young Joe Solecki is going to go out there and get the submission win by rear naked choke against Jim Miller, which is very hard to do. It's very hard to submit Jim Miller, but I think it'll be more based on exhaustion, and I'm going to go with a late second round. But I'll end on third round. Third round rear naked choke submission for Joe Solecki. He's a very sound fighter, young guy, 27 years of age, good grappling base. I think he'll do okay on the feet, start to wear down Jim Miller, maybe work the body against the cage with some knees, really try and wet blanket him, and then get the submission in the third round by rear naked choke. Joe Solecki gets it done. Moving on up the card to the main card. Mike Perry versus Daniel Rodriguez. Now, I like Mike Perry. I wish that Mike Perry would succeed in his career, because I'll tell you this, before he lost his nose to Luque, he was an absolute monster in that division. Like, Mike Perry actually looked really good, and I say he beat Vicente Luque in the first 2 rounds. And that's really difficult to do. I know Luque's gotten a lot better since then and has got a little bit more technical, but Mike Perry is a savage in this division. I don't think he'll ever get back to that situation. I think he actually is taking a little bit of a beating. Little bit of emotional trauma as well. The nose breaking is always going to be a problem moving forward. You're not going to be as willing to grit down and go blow for blow with someone. He got TKO'd by Jeff Neal. Even in his bounce back fight against Mickey Gall, which was literally, oh, here's a free win for you. Get rid of Mickey Gall for us and get a big KO. He didn't look that good. He didn't look that good whatsoever. And Daniel Rodriguez is coming off a big win, I thought, to Nicholas Dalby, but I guess they didn't give him a decision either. But I think Daniel Rodriguez is definitely going to go out there and put really nasty hands on Mike Perry. Really, really bad hands on Mike Perry. I think Mike Perry's going to go down. Dwight Grant fight. Daniel Rodriguez gets clipped, so there is a chance for Mike Perry to go out there and land a big shot on Daniel Rodriguez and put him away. But D-Rod showed good recovery, good chin, good jiu-jitsu game as well. Big win over Gabriel Green. I see this guy as 5-0 in the UFC right now, or 4-0 in the UFC right now. He should be at least. I think the Tim Means fight is a big tell in the difference of skill between this version of Mike Perry and this version of Daniel Rodriguez. Mike Perry went out there and really struggled with Tim Means on the feet in the boxing exchanges. Tried to do some good work on the ground, but Daniel Rodriguez, 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu guy, very good on the ground himself. I feel like he's going to tune up Mike Perry really badly and finish him with a dash choke in round 2. I think Mike Perry's going to get teed up on in round 2 of this fight. There's going to be good shots landed back and forth in the first round. Maybe Mike Perry gets him down and does some good work there. Second round comes around. D-Rod's going to start putting it together on the feet, landing some big shots. Mike Perry's going to save himself from being TKO'd by shooting for a takedown, and he's going to shoot that takedown right into a guillotine or a dash choke. And I'm going to go with a dash choke for Daniel Rodriguez. He got one against Tim Means, I believe, exactly the same way by rocking Tim Means on the feet, and then Tim Means went in for a bad shot. I think the same thing's going to happen here, and I think D-Rod's going to get it done against Mike Perry, and it hurts me to say that because I want Mike Perry to succeed, because it's just so hard to see a black guy get held down by society. But I feel like D-Rod's going to get it done, man. That's just how it is in America, you know what I mean? The race issue is... I'm going to go with Daniel Rodriguez. Gets it done, dash choke in the second round. Mike Perry goes down. Tough, man. We could have had 4 Nigerian champs, but Mike Perry's letting the team down right now. Daniel Rodriguez gets it done, second round submission. Moving on up the card, Nina Ansaroff versus Mackenzie Dern. Now, I'm going with Mackenzie Dern. Been more active recently. Nina Ansaroff has not been in the cage for a very long time, and the last time she was in the cage, it was against Tatiana Suarez. She actually looked pretty good against Tatiana Suarez, but it's been sort of a theme in her fights that she can be controlled on the ground. Randa Marcos got her down for a while in her fight. Claudia Gadelha got Nina Ansaroff down in her fight as well. And Mackenzie Dern showed in her last fight that she isn't just one of these sort of Amanda Ribasses of the women's strawweight division. She can actually beat some legit decent fighters, and in that case it was Verna Jandiroba, who was 16-2 at the time, I believe actually 16-1 at the time, and Mackenzie Dern ended up getting a good win over her by decision, pushed a good pace, looked good on the feet as well. I think she's a very improving fighter, and she'll go out there and hustle her way to a 29-28 close competitive unanimous decision over Nina Ansaroff. Mackenzie Dern gets it done. Moving on, Sam Alvey versus Julian Marquez. You shit fuck. Julian Marquez is so bad it makes me want to pick Sam Alvey, but Sam Alvey's so bad. Oh. He's moving down to middleweight. I don't like a guy who's been chinned previously in his career and taken damage in his career, moving down to a lower weight class against Julian Marquez, who has got big power in his hands. I see a first round KO for Julian Marquez. Don't be surprised if Sam Alvey rallies in the later rounds to get it done over him, because Julian Marquez is so sloppy at times. But one thing that he does have is a great chin and big hands and knockout power. And I think he's going to grit down at some point in the first round after maybe losing some grappling situations with Sam Alvey against the cage and get the big KO win over Alvey. And I think it's finally going to be time to say goodbye to Sam Alvey. And he's going to be frowning Sam Alvey after this one, because I don't see him being very happy after Julian Marquez KOs him in the first round, because Julian Marquez has got all of that like blue ball energy from Miley Cyrus, and he's going to channel that straight into a fucking Cuban right hand, straight on Sam Alvey's chin in the first round. Julian Marquez first round KO. Moving on up the card, Kyle Daukaus versus Aliaskhab Khizriev. I'm going to go with Aliaskhab Khizriev. But don't be surprised if Daukaus gets this one done as well. Very close odds in this bout. I am going to go with Khizriev. He's very good, but Daukaus has equally got some real good grappling. Really good grappling. But Aliaskhab Khizriev, I was leaning Daukaus. Now I'm leaning Khizriev. I think he's going to be able to get the better of Daukaus in the grappling situations. I like Daukaus. I really think he's a great fighter, but sometimes in these grappling situations, he doesn't show complete dominance. I know he had some trouble against Stoltzfus in his last bout here and there, and that should have been a bit of an easier win for him in my opinion. It was a good fight. He definitely got the better of him, but Stoltzfus was in there, had some reversals, got on top himself. I just think Khizriev's grappling is just a different level to these guys that are Kyle Daukaus has been taken on, and I think that's going to show here. Brendan Allen was able to out-scramble Daukaus, end up on top, land some good shots where he needed to, get some control time in the fight. I think if these other guys are out-scrambling him and getting some good positions for themselves on the ground, I think that Khizriev's going to he's going to be really easily out-grappling Kyle Daukaus here. But Daukaus has got some good grit. Maybe in the later rounds he can mount a little bit of a comeback, but I'm definitely going to go with Khizriev securing the first 2 rounds with his grappling. I don't think he finishes Daukaus. I think there's going to be moments where he's like about to submit him, but Daukaus is very patient. I think he'll survive some bad situations in the early rounds, come back in the third, earn a lot of people's respect, but I still believe that Khizriev's going to get the job done with his grappling, 29-28, securing the first 2 rounds against Kyle Daukaus, and he's pretty okay on the feet as well, but I'm going to go with Khizriev decision. Moving on up the card, Arnold Allen versus Sodiq Yusuff. I'm picking Arnold Allen. He's an underdog. You can't give me Arnold Allen as an underdog here. I would have picked Arnold Allen if he was a slight favourite as well. Like, they've given me as an underdog. I assume it's because of his time off that he has had, and Sodiq Yusuff has looked pretty good against guys like Andre Fili, but Arnold Allen has been doing this for a long time. He's got great technique. He's got more experience than Sodiq Yusuff. They're close in reach as well. I think they're going to be close in height. It says that Arnold Allen is 5'7". He's really about 5'9" in the featherweight division. I think he's going to be a tiny bit taller than Sodiq Yusuff here, but both guys are really good. Sodiq Yusuff got some great kicks, great hands. I haven't really seen Arnold Allen rocked too much in his career. The one thing I've seen with Arnold Allen is maybe he can be smothered a little bit against the cage by a guy with a lot of volume and pressure, pushing him up against the cage. Maybe like an Usman at featherweight would do very well against Arnold Allen. But give him a striker on the feet, I think we're going to see the best out of Arnold Allen here. Yusuff's very patient on the feet, and I think Allen's going to use those calf kicks. Yusuff is going to be using them back, but Allen's just sort of, I like the straight shots of Arnold Allen over the looping blows of Sodiq Yusuff, which do give Yusuff more power. So there is a chance that Yusuff could catch Arnold Allen in this bout. But Yusuff's been caught in his own bouts. I don't know if I trust his chin, to be honest with you guys. Because Arnold Allen, I've seen him take some good shots, and he takes them well. And he seems to see a lot of them coming as well, which I think is a very good sign. Okay? He doesn't really seem to walk into shots of his opponents. Whenever you see Arnold Allen hit by a punch, he knows it's coming. He's sort of moving away from it, or he's sort of bracing himself for a shot to come because he knows that one of them's going to be there. When you see Sodiq Yusuff get clipped by guys like Gabriel Benitez, Benitez gets a little bit reckless, goes for a finish, and then Yusuff catches him back. That was a little bit worrying from Yusuff to get rocked in that bout there, but Gabriel Benitez, a very good fighter, don't get me wrong. Really hard fight to predict this one, but I am going to go with Arnold Allen, cruising to a unanimous decision, 30-27. Every single round of this fight is going to be so close, but I'm going to go with Arnold Allen getting this one done at range with his 1-2, and I think Yusuff's going to be swinging some hooks. I don't think he's going to win the down the straight center game. I think he's going to look for the hooks over the top, and Allen's going to beat him to it with the shots down the center and the front kicks and the calf kicks as well, and I think that Arnold Allen's going to beat Sodiq Yusuff. Yusuff also got cracked by Andre Fili and sort of slumped to one knee at one point in that fight, and that was a very close bout as well, but Andre Fili's very good, so I'm going to go with Arnold Allen. A little bit more proven, 16-1, more experience. Hasn't had a lot of time recently in the cage, so I think he's going to be improving on a lot. He had a broken hand in his Nick Lentz bout. I know a lot of people look at that Lentz fight and think, oh, that was a little bit close. He won every round with a broken hand, and Nick Lentz stole a round off Movsar Evloev on short notice, so I feel like we can kind of give Nick Lentz a little bit of credit. He also beat Scott Holtzman on this same card, so I'm going to go with Arnold Allen here over Sodiq Yusuff, 30-27, unanimous decision. Moving on to the main event, Marvin Vettori versus Kevin Holland. Now, if Marvin Vettori doesn't beat Kevin Holland, I'm done with my career predicting fights. I will make more prediction videos just in case the odds do go against me once more. I don't think there's a logical way of picking Kevin Holland here. I really don't. I think Marvin Vettori is going to go out there, and I know a lot of people see him as this angry striker that wants to put people away on the feet. There's a different side of Marvin Vettori that is his grappling, and if he does see fit to use that, which I believe he definitely will here against Kevin Holland, because I think a lot of his game plan going into the Darren Till fight was to go out there and try and take down Darren Till, try and work in the takedowns against Darren, because Darren Till's a bit of a striker. I thought Vettori was going to mix in the takedowns on Darren Till. He's been training for that. I think he'll use that against Kevin Holland, especially after watching the Derek Brunson fight and a Gerald Meerschaert fight, and even a Darren Stewart fight in the third round as well. I'll definitely see Marvin Vettori going out there, using his grappling in the early rounds, and I'm actually going to call a first round rear naked choke finish for Marvin Vettori, or an arm triangle. I don't know which one I'm going to go for, but I think I'm going to settle on rear naked choke. Holland's going to give up his back, trying to get back to his feet, and Marvin Vettori's going to catch him in a rear naked. Round 1, at the end of round 1, he's going to Carl Roberson Kevin Holland, in my opinion, and Vettori's going to walk out and still. I don't know why I said and still. Italian? I don't know. He's not really got any title or anything, but whatever. Marvin Vettori beats Kevin Holland, goes out there, throws a little few things on the feet. Maybe they land a couple of shots back and forth. Holland maybe lands a good shot that makes Vettori think, you know what, maybe I don't want to stand up with this guy and risk it on short notice. And I think Vettori's going to go out there, work the grappling game, get the rear naked in the first round against Kevin Holland. I like Kevin Holland. I like the whole story about him, but I feel like we've kind of realized that his grappling is just not up to par. I know a lot of people are just judging his grappling based on the Derek Brunson performance. There's been other fights in Kevin Holland's career which really raised some red flags about his grappling. Darren Stewart, Alessio Di Chirico had some decent moments as well. Brendan Allen also submitted him on the ground. Gerald Meerschaert out-grappled him in positional control, and that's Gerald Meerschaert. That's fucking Gerald Meerschaert. So, I'm going to go with Marvin Vettori first round rear naked choke, landing some good shots on the feet. Holland starts to swing back. Vettori goes for a takedown, gets Holland to the ground, passes over his guard like it's relatively nothing, goes for a little bit of a full mount situation. Holland looks to buck over and turn over, and Vettori sinks in the rear naked choke. Round 1, Marvin Vettori by submission. If Kevin Holland wins this one, I don't know anymore about MMA. I don't know. I'm going to make a video tomorrow breaking this one down in depth. I couldn't make one about Kevin Holland winning. I just couldn't do it. The evidence is just not fucking there. But then again, he just punches Jacare off of his back. Can't handle Derek Brunson laying on top of him whatsoever. Can't handle Gerald Meerschaert laying on top of him doing nothing whatsoever. But Jacare Souza, forget it. I'll put him in a triangle, then decide against it and KO him from bottom. I don't understand the sport sometimes, but I think it's very likely Marvin Vettori goes out there and gets a submission in the first round. Holland does have a 7-inch reach advantage, which is crazy, which definitely makes me believe that he's going to go for the ground game. And I think Vettori gets a submission. Round 1 rear naked choke. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. This card's actually really good, even though the main event got a little bit iffy last minute. But Kevin Holland steps up. If Kevin Holland wins this one, fair play, Kevin Holland. I'll forgive you for the Derek Brunson performance. But if I see Kevin Holland fucking body triangle himself onto bottom, I'm done with him. I'm done with him. But yeah, thank you for saving the event, Kevin Holland. Appreciate you so much. Maybe he goes out there and gets it done. Who knows? Kevin Holland's going to get submitted in the first round rear naked choke. Marvin Vettori, in my opinion, is the biggest threat to Israel Adesanya in the entire middleweight division. I know a lot of people don't like him because of how angry he is, and he thinks that he won the Israel Adesanya fight, which I think actually kind of hinders him, but it's a storyline that he's going to build, and that's going to make for a very interesting bout down the line with Israel Adesanya. I think he's the biggest threat to Israel Adesanya in the whole division. If Kevin Holland beats him, no one beats Israel Adesanya at middleweight. That's just a fact. I'm going to go with Marvin Vettori, chopping at the legs early. Holland's going to get backed up against the cage, looking for some big shots. Vettori will get him down and get the submission. Like and subscribe. Click that button up there. Goodbye. Toodle pip.